Good morning, everyone. Baruch Havaot, welcome. Okay. So first, welcome everybody. Thank, of course, our sponsor, Rita Geller, who's here. Thanks also to Mindel, who set up the refreshments for us.
Oh, that was really
So
hard.
we appreciate that. You're gonna need a chumash, probably. Here you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So today we're going to introduce a new concept, and we're going to have a little bit of fun with the Gemara because we're going to go to primary sources a little bit. That's why I asked you all to have a chumash, because we're going to actually go look at the source of the rules that are being discussed in our Gemara. So we are starting on 3a, the very bottom. If you're in the Hebrew, the last line on Gimel Amud Aleph. If you are in the English, so we're on 3a4, the very end. 3a4.
Okay, the end, okay.
Okay. The situation that we're talking about is where one person claims that another person owes money, and the person who's being asked to pay says, I owe you partially. I don't owe you the whole thing. So just a quick review, the ideas that we've been discussing, right? They say that with quizzes, that helps, right? We've got a bunch of teachers here, right? So if you give frequent quizzes, people are going to remember. So does everybody remember the first case, Shnayim Ochazim, that was Fran and Miriam? What took place in that case?
People come at the same time.
Each one is holding pieces of a talus. Each one says it's mine, and each one says it's wholly mine, and then they swear that it's theirs.
Okay, so what Shandy says is that two people come into our court, each one holding onto one edge of a garment. Could be a talus, it could be, we use a sweater, and each one is claiming it's all mine. I found it, it's mine, and now we have to decide what to do. And so the decision is what? What do we wind up doing, Fran?
We end up splitting it. The first one person gets 50%, and the second person gets half of 50%.
That's the second case. The first case.
Oh, this one.
Each person gets.
See, we need frequent
Oh,
quizzes.
okay.
Next time, maybe I'm going to give you a written quiz.
Right.
Right. So, in that case, where each one has the same claim. The claim is just as strong from each of them. We ask them to swear to fortify their claim, and they swear. What do they swear?
50%.
They swear that I have no less than half. Right? And then we divide it. Okay? And if it's the type of item that can be divided and it's still, each one has a value, so we do it that way. If not, then what we do is we sell it and we split the proceeds. Okay, it's the first one. The second one is the chenvani al pinkaso. It's the storekeeper with his,
Kate to pay the workers the money, and Kate said, okay.
right. So the case where there was the,
They said, one said they didn't get paid,
right,
and Kate said she paid him.
right.
I believe Kate.
What actually winds up happening is we believe them both.
Oh, okay.
Right? You remember? Because what does the storekeeper say? Storekeeper says, not only did I pay, but I have nothing to do with your worker, right? You hired these people to cut the grass and to do all the landscape maintenance and everything. I don't know who they are. So you asked me to lay out the money for you. I did it for you. I had nothing to do with them. So you have to reimburse me. On the other hand, what is the grass cutter, the landscaper? What does he say?
You have to pay, and you don't get money. I did the work and you don't get money.
He says, I worked for you. I have nothing to do with that person. It's for your convenience that we have this arrangement with the storekeeper, but you have to pay me because I worked for you. And the upshot, the decision is what?
They both get
The
paid,
owner has to pay,
both of them.
Right.
because he is responsible.
Right, each of them swears, so the storekeeper swears that you paid, the employee swears he did not get paid, and the person with whom the arrangement was made, meaning the employer, has to pay them both. Okay, that's the second case. The third case was Harriet's cow and Tova's ox, and a little calf, right? So everybody agrees that the ox killed the cow. The question is, what caused the death of the calf, right? So what?
And was it before or after the, before or after the cow got killed, right?
Exactly right, because we don't know whether that calf was born after the cow had been gored. In other words, the calf was inside, the cow was killed, the calf was killed, and then the calf came out, or the cow gave birth to that calf prior to being gored, and therefore the death of the calf cannot be attributed to the action of Tova's ox, right? So in that case, what do we do?
He pays for the cow and half of the calf.
Correct. And of course, that's the caveat is this must be an ox or a bull that it's not a habitual gorer, right? It's the first time, right? Because the first time you pay half the damages. So that's another issue, but that's how it's settled. So the owner of the ox has to pay whatever the amount they has to pay for the cow, and then half for the calf, because we have no way to determine it. So in this case, neither one of them is making a claim because they don't know, and we don't know either. Nobody saw it. There was no security camera in the corral. We have no way of knowing. And then the fourth element that we introduced was Rav Yossi. Rav Yossi says that in some of these cases, particularly the first one, it's possible, and the second one also, that somebody is lying. Somebody is
Right.
not telling the
Somebody
truth.
said they got 100 and the other one said they got 200.
Right, that's Jen and Bree, right?
And, yeah, Jen and Bree.
Right, so,
And,
so that case was two people entrusted a third person to watch their money for them, okay? So our case was Jen and Bree, two of the employees on the cruise ship, and they gave the money to one of the passengers, Eva, because Eva had a safe in her room, and they come to dock the boat, and they want their money back. Each one of them says that they gave her 200 to watch, but all Eva has is 300. Which means one of them gave 200, one of them gave 100. We don't know which one. So what do we do now, right? So there are two opinions. The opinion of the Chachamim, the majority basically, say what? Anybody remember?
Yeah.
100,
100 and 100, and let's see what happens after.
So they say each one gets 100, and the remaining 100, which is in dispute, the other 100, everybody agrees. Nobody disagrees that each one of them has 100. So what the rabbis say is they give each one 100 because that's what certainly belongs to them. The other 100, which is in dispute, we put it away. We actually give it to the court. We deposit it with the court, and then when the issue becomes clarified, and what they say is when Eliyahu comes, meaning when the Mashiach comes, all these disputes will be straightened out. But Rav Yossi says what?
Nobody should get any.
Why not? Why not? Why not?
This way, he's hoping that one of them will come to tell the truth.
He's hoping of that because if we give each one of them 100, so let's say Jen gave 100 and Bree gave 200. So Bree says, you know what? Or Jen says, you know, I'm going to claim 200. What do I have to lose? Worst case, I get my 100 back. So Rav Yossi says, that's no good because there's no incentive for somebody who's dishonest to tell the truth because they have nothing to lose. So therefore, Rav Yossi says, what do? We take all the money and put it aside because, as Marcia said, that might inspire that person to say, oh, you know what? I really only left 100 and
Let me at least get my 100.
right, and then give the 200 to the other person, and that'll settle the case. Okay, so those are those four concepts. Today we're going to get a new concept, which is very famous throughout the Gemara. And what it is that if a person makes a claim, a monetary claim on someone else, and they come into the court, and the person says that, I don't know, Reuven says that Shimon owes him $1,000. And Shimon says, Lo hayu devorim me'olam. Never happened. So what do we do? Reuven says, you owe me $1,000. Shimon says, I don't owe you anything.
You look for witnesses?
So
Contract.
the important concept, the point is, this is a very famous phrase. It's hamotzi mechavero. Hamotzi mechavero. If I want to take something from someone else, right? Shimon is in possession of the money. So it's not like our cases where two people are holding it, or a third party is holding for someone else, or there's something that is in dispute. Neither one is holding it. Here, Shimon is in possession of the money. Reuven wants to take Shimon's money. So Reuven is hamotzi mechavero. He wants to take something from his friend. So he has to alav haraya. Maybe you've heard this. Hamotzi mechavero alav haraya. If I want to take something which is in the possession of another person, I need to bring proof. If I can't bring proof, then the other person is not obligated to pay. Right? You got that? In other words, I can't claim that I don't know that Esther owes me money without some kind of, so somebody said witnesses, somebody else might say I bring along a document attesting to it, but just by my word, I need to bring proof. Okay? So that sort of introduces the discussion that we're going to be talking about today.
In other words, swearing is not enough.
Swearing is not enough. And we're going to get into the issue of swearing now, because the case that we ended up with last week was that Reuven said, Shimon owes me $1,000. Shimon said, I only owe you 500. Okay, so Shimon is what's called a modeh b'miktsas. He admits in a portion of the claim. Okay, so now, how do we look at that now?
Isn't that somewhat similar to our case before, with the $300, 200, one person claims that he put in 100 and the other person claims that he put in 200? Could that be a similar?
In a certain way, because you have differing amounts being discussed, and it's different too, because in the case of Jen and Bree, we know that each one of them has something here, right? But in this case, just because Reuven says that Shimon owes him money, but Shimon now helped Reuven out, right? Because he said, I owe you a half of what you're claiming. It doesn't matter, it could be 25%, could be 75%, that's not the point. The idea is that a claim was made, and instead of denying the claim, he said, I owe you part of it. Okay, so now the shvuah, now the oath is going to come into play. Because we have no witnesses, we have no document. We do have a partial admission though. Right? So we're in the last line, or if you're in the English, it's 3A4. So it says, we ask him to swear. Why? Because mibnei ma amra Torah moda miktsas hatana yeshava. Why does the Torah say that somebody who admits a partial claim should swear? Because, if you remember what we said last time, because chazaka, it's understood. Ein adam meis panav b'fnei bal chova. If I'm in trouble, right, and I need money, and we were 23 years old, 22 years old, went into business. We didn't always have enough money to keep the business going, and thank God our parents helped us out. But suppose I went to a friend, a third party, and I asked him for a loan of a couple $1,000s to make my payroll, whatever, and then he comes to collect. Would I have the nerve to say to that person, you never lend me anything? You wouldn't do that, because first of all, the person helped you, you were in need, he helped you out, and you're not going to completely deny it. So the Gemara says a person would not completely deny. So, but what's happening here? Because he says, hi, the Kule boy hakfira. So he has to make the complete denial. Why did he not admit the whole thing, to deny the whole thing? So in the case of Reuben and Shimon, why did Shimon say half? Because Shimon could have said nothing, that he owes Reuben nothing. And what will we say in that case? Right? If Reuven says to Shimon in our court, he says to Shimon, you owe me $1,000. If Shimon said, I owe you nothing, well, we would have said this.
He has to bring a proof.
So what did Shimon do? Shimon admitted to half.
How did he commit to half?
So the Gemara says, why would he do such a thing? Why would he do such a thing?
He
So
doesn't want to completely lie.
Shimon's the
He-
one.
Conscience.
that's right, exactly right. So the Gemara says, because Mishum the Ein Adam Meis Panav B'fnei Bal Chova, Shimon wouldn't have the nerve to deny. Reuben helped him out when he was in trouble, right? His car broke down, whatever it was, and along came Shimon to bail him out. Reuben is not going to be that kind of person to completely deny it. But what's the problem? So we turn the page.
It's still a chutzpah to say, I don't know the whole thing.
So we're right at the beginning of 3b. Okay,
Oh, yeah, we're on 3B.
now we're on 3b. So in the English it's 3b1.
Okay, that's.
Okay, so the Gemara says, hi, the Kule boy de lo delay. He should have admitted on the whole thing, on the entire debt, because Shimon knows that he owes Reuven, or Reuven knows that, I forgot who owed who, but it doesn't matter.
Shimon owes Reuben money.
Shimon knows he owes the money to Reuven. V'hai de lo odi, and the fact he did not admit the entire claim is because Ashamutehu de Komish Tamid. He wants to push him off a little bit, right? Savar, because he thinks, Ad havuli zuzi, when I have the money, paranale, I'll pay. In other words, he's not denying the claim. He doesn't want to say, I owe you nothing. He admits to the claim, but only part of it, because that's all he has right now, right? So let's take a look at Rashi, see what Rashi says. So Rashi's at the top of the page, and it says, V'hai b'kulei voy delodi. So Rashi said, in the Gemara, that's the text, that he needs to admit the whole thing. He says, V'chi tema, if you might think, migo de chashid mamona chashid shvuasa. So if somebody denies a claim, so now he's suspect in a certain sense. So are we going to believe him when he swears to us? Not necessarily, right? So we're saying that somebody makes a claim, another person denies it, he admits part of it, so we're suspicious, aren't we?
How do we know the claimant is telling the truth?
Well, we don't know the claimant is telling the entire truth. We know the claimant is telling a partial
Maybe
truth.
he owes him only $500.
Okay, so here we have a problem now, right? We're the judges, and we have to decide. So could we say that, and this could relate to either one of them really, because they're making competing claims. Why would we believe one or the other? So on the other hand, we're probably going to suspect them both, aren't we? I mean, if two people are, here we are, we're trying to settle this case, and two people come in with different statements. Why would we believe one or the other? Right? And so then we basically do suspect them both, don't we? We can't just say to Shimon, pay the whole 1,000, and we can't just say to Reuven, you got your 500, go home now. We can't do that. So we have to give equal weight to both of the claims, right? And that means that each of them is in a certain sense suspect, right? So so Rashi says, if we suspect them on a monetary claim, are we going to believe them when they take an oath? Would we do that necessarily? And then he says, "V'lo nirmei olei shuasav," and we would not force, if we don't trust them, why would we ask them to swear? Right? So Rashi says, Lo chashid amamona lefisha b'ritzono. So Rashi says no. Rashi was a psychologist, right? He was a medical doctor, but he understood the psychology of people. He said, we don't really suspect that Shimon is trying to deny the claim. But what is it? Lefisha b'ritzono hayamod b'kulo. He really wanted to admit the whole thing. He knows he owes it. He really would want to admit the whole thing. However, Elish ein biyodo lefroa, but he doesn't have it right now, right? The savar ad dehavi li zuzi uparanoli. When I have the money, I'm going to pay. Because what could Shimon have done if he really wanted to deny the claim? What could he have done?
I don't know.
He could have said, right, and prove it, right? So here's a case where all we have is the word of the two people. We have no witnesses. We have no signed note. All we have is Reuven says Shimon owes him money. So Shimon could very easily, yes, Rebecca?
What if one person is much more credible, comes across much more credible than the other side?
Credible how?
That it looks like they're being honest and the other person is lying.
So, in other words, if we feel someone has a more honest face than somebody else, it doesn't work like that. The judges do interrogate people, and they'll take them aside, each ask them a lot of questions and so on, and they'll try to catch them in a misstep of falsehood. But at the end of the story, you have two people who are equally credible and equally suspect, really.
If he planned on paying him the whole thing though, and he just didn't have it,
Right.
why would he lie? Why would he just say, I don't
don't
have
have
the
it
money
this
right now, I
moment."
can give you this much now? Like,
Right.
that's lying as opposed, you know?
So
Yeah.
I think at this point, we don't necessarily know whether he really believes that he owes only 500, whatever it is, that amount, the half amount.
Right.
So Rashi is just, maybe I'm wrong, Rashi is just saying that because he's offering half, it probably means that he doesn't have the money. That's Rashi's opinion.
That's what Rashi's saying. He's saying that he knows he owes the money. So now it's our job to take it to the next step. So either we're going to say that half is all it is, or we're going to record in some way, whether he has the money or he doesn't have the money, we're going to record a judgment against him, and then it's going to be filed with the court, just like today. If you don't pay a contractor or whatever, the contractor is going to file a lien with the court. It's going to Secretary of State and everything. You can't sell your house until you pay that. But whatever it is, so we need to establish what actually is going to be the end of the story. So we say that once it's settled, then once there's a judgment, now we're going to record that. So we ask him to swear, right? So we say Amar Rachmana Ramishvu Alei Kihechi Delodi Levakule Aval Hodas Edim. So now, how about a case where you have witnesses that come in and say what actually took place is the half? Because that's the case that we're talking about now. That Reuven comes into court with two witnesses who say that Shimon owes Reuven $500 or $1,000. No. Let's start again. Reuven says that Shimon owes him $1,000. Witnesses come in and they say, we observed the transaction taking place and the loan was for $500, not for $1,000.
Wow.
So now what do we
But
do?
Reuven in a very good
Now
light.
Reuben is the
Yeah,
one
now
who's
Reuben is
lying.
the-
So what happens is Shimon has to swear. And Shimon is considered in the same way as if he admitted half the claim himself. And we're going to see why right away. So it says, if he admitted the whole thing, but when there are witnesses, he denied everything. Right? So now we can't use Rashi's psychological evaluation, right? Because he denied the whole thing. So why do we want to make him swear? Because now there's less reason to trust him at all, right? Because we have witnesses who establish, and that's how, right, we said that's how truth is established in a Jewish court, is by the testimony of two witnesses. So we have the two witnesses. We know that at least half of Reuven's claim is true, and we know that all of Shimon's denial is false, and yet we make Shimon swear on the balance. Okay, so how does that work, right? So we say, when there are witnesses of all hodas, we can't say that they both are suspecting the same way, because he's obviously lying, right? So then we would say that we don't take a shvuah from him. So the Gemara says, Kamashmal and Kal v'chomer. It's a Kal v'chomer. Kal v'chomer means lenient and stringent. So if you understand something, you can understand something which is lenient from another one which is stringent. We're gonna get an example, so you're gonna see how that's gonna work. He said, my Kal v'chomer. What is the Kal v'chomer that we're going to use in order to enforce this shvuah on Shimon? Uma piv she'en mechayvo mamon mechayvo shvuah. A statement of his own mouth does not obligate him in a monetary payment, but it can force him to swear. So what is that case where he makes a statement with his mouth, right? And he's not obligated to pay. We're going to see right away what that is, but that does not require him to pay, but it does require him to make to swear. Eidim, witnesses, shemechayeven oso mamon, ein odin shemechayeven oso shua. So witnesses can come into court, and if witnesses testify that there is a debt, that testimony makes the person pay. So if an admission of his own volition cannot make him pay, and witnesses do, then certainly the witnesses should make him swear. It's a little bit confusing, but it's going to get clarified in a second. So the Gemara says, "Upiv ein mechayva mamon." So wait a second. If Shimon admitted the debt, wouldn't he have to pay? So that's obvious, of course. So the Gemara says no. It says v'ha halados bal din kamea edim. If Shimon admitted he owes the money, and then 100 people come in and say it never happened, what happens? What do we do? Shimon pays, because the admission of the creditor is equivalent to 100 witnesses. 100 is just a number, But in other words, his admission that he owes the money is what we're going to listen to. We're not going to pay attention to the witnesses in that case. So the Gemara says his admission does make him pay. So why do you say that it doesn't make him pay? So it's a special case. My mamon, what is the mamon? What is the monetary payment which we're talking about here? Knas. Knas is a fine. And so for that one, our first reference in the Chumash is going to be, if you open up your Chumash to page 427.
What number?
427 in your Chumash. Okay, so we're on 426. I'm sorry, 420. Well, 427 in English, 426 in Hebrew, and we're on verse 6, pasuk vav. It says, "Ki yiten isha riehu kesef okelim lishmor a person gives his friend money or utensils to watch for him, v'guna b'beis ish, if it is, and they are stolen from the house of the shomer, the person who's guarding it. Imi motze aganav, if the thief is found or is caught, yishalem shnaim, he pays double, right? That's what we talked about last week, about the idea that restitution is not a punishment, right? Because because if you stole 100, you give back 100, what did you lose, right? So in this case, so if a thief is caught, he has to pay double, right? So im lo yimotzi aganav, so suppose the thief is never caught, right? V'nikrav bal habayis Elohim, and you can say Elohim because it's referring to judges, not the guy, because judges are called in some place you see them referred to as Elohim because they're supposed to think that God is with them when they're judging. So the owner of the property comes to the court and he makes the shomer swear. The shomer, the guardian, the bailey, we're talking about a bailment, and that's what this is the technical term for it. If I ask somebody to watch money of mine or watch my car while I'm up north, so and then the car got stolen off the parking lot, so I come into court and I bring the house watcher, and the house watcher has to swear. What does he swear? Im lo shalach yadav b'meleches re'ehu. He didn't drive my car. He didn't do anything with the car. So, and that's it. If somebody's unpaid shomer, called a shomer chinam, all he has to swear is that he was not negligent, he didn't use it himself, and then he's off the hook. Okay? Continuing. So, I'll call davar pesha, al shor, al chamor, al seh, al sama, al kol aveda, al sheyomar ki hu zeh. But suppose on anything, so we're talking about whether something that could be an ox, could be a donkey, could be a lamb, could be anything, or anything, a lost article that someone could say, that's it, it's in his house, right? He says or he put it in the guest spot, or whatever it is, that's the car. He still has that car. In that case, so it says in front of the judges, Yavo devar shneim asher yarshian Elohim yishalem shnayim l'reyehu. Now he has to pay double. The shomer, the person who was watching the article, the bailey, has to pay double.
But he didn't steal the items, did he?
He stole it. In other words, even though it came to him with reshus, with permission, right? If I asked him to watch my car for me, and I gave him the keys, so he didn't actually come and take it, but I gave it to him with permission. But now he says I don't have it.
Oh.
I don't have it anymore. And then we investigate. We find out that he has another apartment in another section, and there's the car in that parking spot.
What if you paid him to watch it?
So if you pay him to watch it, the rules are different. But in terms of theft, if he stole it, and here's the case where he stole it because he took my car and he put it somewhere else under his control, not under my control, and he denies. He says it got stolen. I don't know what happened to it. And then an investigation is made, and they bring a search warrant, right? And they find that my clarinet or whatever it is in his living room. It's right there, and they say that's it. That's the item that was given to this person to watch. He stole it. So what does he have to pay?
Double.
Has to pay double.
So that's only the case when he is fined, when it's only, that's what the fine means?
That's the
When you
fine.
go back to the Gemara.
The fine, right, the fine is the second amount. The clarinet, if that's what it is, has to give that back, but the value of it, the second payment, the knas, that fine, that's a knas. So the Gemara says that fine can only come about by the testimony of witnesses. If he admits to the theft, there's no fine.
Oh, wow.
Right. If he admits to the theft, there's no fine. He has to return the article, and that's it. So that means that his own statement cannot create a fine for him. The only way the fine can be imposed is by the testimony of witnesses. So that is telling us that the testimony of witnesses has a power his own words do not have. Got it, Rita? So if that's the case, that they have the power to impose this fine, so then we say, if they have the power to impose a fine, which his own mouth, his own statement does not have, so certainly, right, they should be able to impose a shvuah on him, right? Because in our case, what's happening is that Reuven says you owe 1,000. Shimon says I owe nothing. Witnesses come and say he owes 500. So witnesses have a special power that in the case of our thief, they can impose the fine. Therefore, if they have that power to impose a monetary payment, shouldn't they also have the ability to impose the shvuah onto Shimon, who's denying the claim?
So which is the column, which is the light and which is the easy, the fine?
The fine is heavier than a shvuah.
It's heavier than the.
Right, because, yeah.
So it would seem that the shvuah in some ways would be more heavier because you're saying something in front of God, right? It seems like that would be a.
Maybe yes, maybe no, but the Gemara is saying that to extract cash, money from somebody is more serious than asking him to make a statement, put his hand on the Bible and make a statement. So therefore, since the witnesses have this power that he doesn't have by his own statement, certainly shouldn't they have the ability to impose the shvuah on him, right? So what we're talking about, it's the knas. So ma lefiv shekei mechayvo karba. So the Gemara says, wait a second, the statement of a person's own mouth has certain power the witnesses don't have in another case. So it says ma lepiv shekei mechayvo karban. Okay, there's certain averos that if a person violates them deliberately, the punishment is called kares. Kares there are different interpretations of what it is. It means it's that like a person is cut off, so they say that maybe he's gonna die before his time, maybe he's not gonna have children or whatever it is, but it's a like a heavenly punishment. That's not, we don't have to mete that out in our court. God takes care of that. That's called kares. If he did it deliberately. If he did it inadvertently, unknowingly, that's b'shogeg, he did it. In that case, when he learns that he committed the avera. So what is an example? If a person has, meat has the two kinds of fat. There are two Torah kinds of fat. One is called shuman and one is called chalev. Shuman is the type of fat we're allowed to eat. Chalev is the type of fat that we're not allowed to eat. So certain parts of the body, the fat in those parts of the body are prohibited to us. And so this person had a steak which had some fat on it, and he thought he was eating shuman, the permitted one. Turned out he was eating chalev. So that means he violated a prohibition against eating chalev, but he did it inadvertently. He didn't realize he was doing it. In that case, when he learns that he committed this violation, he needs to bring an offering. He needs to bring a korban. He needs to bring a sacrifice. Okay. So in that case, that's something that only he can do. Witnesses can't impose that obligation to bring the korban on him. So here you have a case where a person's own statement makes him obligated, where witnesses can't. So in our first case, the witnesses can make him pay the money or pay the knas, where he can't, because if he admits that he stole it, there's no knas. But in our second case, if he knows that he ate this chalev, he's got to bring the sacrifice, right? So in that case, so then you can't, your kal v'chomer, comparing the power of the witnesses, making him swear, doesn't necessarily work, because witnesses are not always stronger than his own statement. So the Gemara is lo kasha. That's not difficult, because Rabbi Chia, Rabbi Meir severely. Rabbi Chia, is the one who constructed this kal v'chomer, he holds like Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir says that witnesses, because the way that it works, if a person ate this chalev inadvertently, and then he learned that it was chalev, he has to bring this korban. But then we take a look at our second reference, which is going to be on page 562. So, and this deals with a couple of different cases, but you have the verse 3. It says, "O ki yiga b'tumas adam l'chol tumaso asher yitma ba v'ne'elam mimenu." He didn't realize. V'hu yadav Hashem. Now he found out. Then he has to bring the offering, and it's got to be that he learned about it, not that there were witnesses that testified that he did. He has to learn. That's where that obligation comes in, by his own learning of the fact that this violation took place. So here the Torah is telling us that witnesses are not what makes this obligation, and yet Rabbi Meir says that witnesses do, right? Because Rabbi Meir Svirale Omar Eidim Mechayven Oso Korban Kal V'Chomer. So now Rabbi Meir is creating another Kal V'Chomer. He says this now. We learn Omar Lo Shnayim Achalta Chalev. Two witnesses, two people come and say to this person, "You ate chalev. You thought you were eating shuman. You actually ate chalev." Hu Omar Lo Achalti. He says, "No, I didn't." Now what? Rabbi Meir Mechayev V'Chachamim Potrin. Rabbi Meir disagrees with the majority. He's a minority opinion, but we're going to mention his opinion. And people ask, well, what's the bottom line? Why do we mention Rabbi Meir when we don't hold like him? The halacha is not like him. Why do we list minority opinions in the Gemara? And the answer is because we want to explore every possibility, because sometime in the future someone could come along and say, well, what about this? And the answer is, that's a very good point. The Gemara dealt with it, and that's how they disposed of it. So we mention Rabbi Meir's opinion, even though we don't settle on it.
But then also, sometimes people follow minority opinions anyway.
So, well, then there are some cases like that, and we're going to depend upon the Rambam or Shulchan Aruch to give us the actual halacha. But in this case, we don't hold like a Rabbi Meir, but we mention him anyway. Fran?
I was just wondering, like, when it says, okay, that he himself realized it, and then he has to bring a korban. How does that relate to now? Like, what now do people do now that we don't bring korban?
So we're trying to establish a principle. The principle that we're trying to establish is the testimony of witnesses more powerful than his own statement? And so we bring different examples of cases where we have a person's statement on one side and we have testimony of witnesses on another, and what do we consider more powerful? So then coming back to our case of Reuven and Shimon and the disputed $500, right? $500 is out of the way because witnesses testified, and Shimon has no choice, you gotta pay that. But the other 500, there is no witness testimony, and there's no admission on the part of the debtor. And so can we establish what's more important, the statement of the witness, the testimony of the witness, or his own statement? And so we bring different cases illustrating the point. That's why, of course, today, there's no question. However, if we did violate one of those things, so we have to, I guess, keep a record. And when the time comes that the Beis Hamikdash is built again, we bring that offering, because we're obligated to bring it, right?
How long is the list?
What? A long list, right. Okay, so here we have the situation, and we have to somehow resolve it, and we have Rav Meir on one side, and we have the Chachamim on another. And next time we're going to bring some more cases that are going to bring us, hopefully, to a resolution.
How How long is this class going on for?
So, we're probably gonna go, till the week before Purim.
Oh,
So, usually I try to do like 10, 12 weeks, something like that, so probably like that. But we're gonna miss one because, January, the
Yeah,
15th to
right.
20th, we're going on that cruise, so we're waiting for that 1 week. But then we come back, we do another few weeks after.
great, thank you.